Well, welcome, friends. It's Sunday afternoon, and it's let us say that it's drizzling now, and this drizzle is following quite a downpour. I was in the bedroom when it happened, and didn't see any lightning flash or anything to give it away, and so when the thunder came, everything in the room were several inches off the ground, including the beds. Had quite a clap. What about you, Mikey? Do you remember that clap of thunder?
I was actually out when it started raining, so I did not hear the thunder.
Oh, you weren't here. Yes, it was definitely local. Definitely local. The thunder doesn't get that loud unless it happened close. So, um, today, let us start off with a topic that Jose had to ask about, which is rhythm. And that basically what we use by the word rhythm is that it is, let us say, one event followed by another, followed by a third event. And then when you know the timing between them, that's when it gets into a rhythm or a synchronicity. Now, rhythm is not mentioned in the sutras, but what the Buddha does talk about in many different sutras is the reference to uh, per- perpetuating, continuing, to keep it going, as opposed to constancy. There's very few places that constancy is mentioned, but it's only in relationship to, let us say, when it's referred to sustaining the first jhana. What sustaining the first jhana means is to keep the rhythm going of one wholesome thought after another, after another, after another. That basically everything happens in the sense of an event that happens in the now. So the example that I normally use is the example of a drum. Let us hand the hand is the drum head, and this is the mallet for a drum. You got that? Okay. Is this the way to play a drum? Jose, you smiled. Is this the way to play a drum?
Definitely not.
No. How do you play a drum? Exactly. That's how you play a drum. Okay. How do you play the mind then? Is by continuously coming back and coming back and coming back. The word that is used in the sutras for um, the Sambhojana, or let us say when the Eightfold Noble Path is actually functioning, it's functioning using the word unremitting, just like a drum. Unremitting, you keep hitting it and keep hitting it and keep hitting it. So imagine the analogy of an old metal bucket. When I'm saying old, I'm talking about old timey bucket that's made of metal that probably has a zinc coating to it, and that bucket is sitting out in the sunshine uh, under a spigot. Now, if that spigot is turned off, or if it is dripping very slowly, then the heat of the sun is going to keep that bucket dry, even though there is a little bit of water going into it. But the bucket is a little bit cooler because to deal with that drop, it gets actually a little bit cooler because of the evaporation of the drop. However, if the drops are fast enough, drip, 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 it's going to cool off the bucket enough so that the water is going to remain, and then it starts to build up to the point of overflowing. Now, once the bucket starts overflowing, there's something very interesting that we have to look at in the sense of basically what we were talking about yesterday, and that is that when the bucket is full, guess what happens to the dripping? Does it continue to fill up the bucket if the bucket is absolutely full? What happens to the next drop when the bucket is absolutely full? Doesn't it leak over the side? Okay, so what happens with you when you have been adding droplets of joy one after another, over and over and over again? What happens to you is you fill up with joy. And then what happens when you keep adding more joy? Doesn't it leak out all over the place? Isn't that the way then it's best to share the Dhamma? The Dhamma is best shared when it's got cool water or cool joy that's just leaking out because you're full of it. So, in that regard, that goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with Sankara, is that we have a big pile of history. A lot of it is garbage. A lot of it was, let us say, unwholesome when it happened, and by the time it's stored in memory, it's downright rotting. That in fact you all have the experience of that you remember something that happened a long time ago. Don't if you keep reminiscing and keep remembering, don't you actually slam into something that happened that makes you wince, that you don't like it. We normally store old things that are painful. We don't store joy so much. Why is that? Well, it has to do with the self-preservation instinct, that we have an instinct. The primary instinct is to keep you alive, and what the primary instinct has developed through all the many generations of development and evolution is protection from danger. And so we tend to remember dangerous things. And so when we have pleasure about something, we very rarely remember the pleasure, but we do remember what work we had to do to get it done. Let us say that you're going out to a restaurant, a very fancy restaurant, and you have a meal there. And while you're having the meal, let's say it's an Italian restaurant and you're having lasagna, and you put that lasagna in your mouth, and that you taste the taste of the lasagna, and it gives you great pleasure. Now, when you remember that event, you don't remember the pleasure. You remember the lasagna, you remember the restaurant, you remember the trip to the restaurant, you remember all the work that you went to get the pleasure, but you don't remember the pleasure itself. This is why we keep needing to put pleasure back in, is because it is kind of temporary, just like that water dripping into a hot bucket. Doesn't last. But if you keep practicing, and this is the point about the rhythm, what is the rhythm of you putting in yet another wholesome thought, one after another, until you get into the point of having it happen unremittingly? That in fact, this is why the Sambhojana, basically what it means is the 7 factors of awakening, or the 7 factors of Bodh or Buddha, or the 7 factors of enlightenment, is that the quality is that unremitting part. So we all have sati from time to time. probably the time that you have the most sati is right after you've cut your finger with a knife. Also, an example of that, just recently, I was doing some soldering to put some power strips back into service, and the soldering iron touched my hand. Guess what? I remember that soldering, that sati. So we actually remember the pain, but we don't remember the pleasure that we got from getting the job done. We remember the job, but we don't remember the pleasure that we got from it. Is that your experience, Catlin? If you think about it, Catherine, you recognize that, yeah, we remember the duty, we remember the service, we remember the work that we put in, but we don't remember the benefit that we got out of it very much. An example of that is those who have money in the stock market, that when the stock goes up, we feel good. But then what do? We go back and we check it again, and we check it again, and we check it again. And when it goes up, we feel good. And when it goes down, we feel bad. But if it goes up and we feel good, why can't we just keep that good feeling? And we don't have to check the stock anymore. We don't have to worry about it because we're not selling it. But we keep checking it over and over and over again. And sometimes we feel good and sometimes we feel bad because the stock is going up and down. And guess what? Why did we do that? Is because that stock is mine. I bought it. There's thousands of stocks on the stock market. How many of them do you have that mentality is that when IBM goes up, I feel good, and IBM goes down, I feel bad? I don't have any IBM stock. I don't care what the hell it does. Okay, so it's the fact that we own stuff that we get our good feelings from in ordinary sense. This is what we would then mean by ordinary language versus Dhamma language, is that we get our ordinary good feelings from ordinary life rather than from Dhamma. Why? Is because we do something to get our joy in the ordinary world, but in the Dhamma world, we manufacture that joy right away and again and again and again and again until it begins to build up. So this would be the way of thinking about the rhythm, is keep it going. Keep that drum beat going. Keep dropping those droplets of joy into your bucket until it gets full up. And then what do? You keep adding the joy, even though the bucket's absolutely full. Why? Because now your joy is leaking all over the furniture and all over the room, is leaking all over your family and friends. And so you keep applying it. There was a short video, I think that Dean, you added this video about Achan Po. It was a very short video, it was only 2 minutes or so. And the first question is, how do you feel? And the answer was, Achan Po says, I feel happy. Why do you feel happy? Is because I keep practicing being happy. So this is the way that we practice, is we practice being happy. We practice having those wholesome thoughts one after another, after another. Does that make sense for you, Jose?
Yeah, that makes perfectly sense. Thanks.
Okay, so one of the things that I have recommended is that people set a timer. For a cell phone, it would be an alarm, and every time that alarm goes off, and you can set it for once an hour for a basic beginner. Then I would say for 5 minutes, which is not much time, practice dropping those drops of joy, those wholesome thoughts. Everything is okay, not a problem in the world. Wow, I feel good. All of those kind of drops, one after another, for 5 minutes, and that'll affect how you feel for the rest of the hour. But what I have gotten from some of the students is, when that alarm goes off, I say, oh, so what? I'll practice later. And then they don't even bother to have one wholesome thought. When the alarm goes off, they have an unwholesome thought. Better, they don't even have the alarm on. But if you do practice with having an alarm on, at least have one wholesome thought. One out of the hour is going someplace, not very far, but it's a whole lot better than when the alarm goes off. Oh, I'll practice later. I don't want to practice right now. No, at least stop and have one wholesome thought. That's the value. However, why have one? Why not have a double? Why not let's have two? Let's have another round. Let's do for 2 minutes or so and keep that joy going. That's the whole point is that we need to get in, and I'm glad you asked this question, Jose. We need to get into a rhythm of having one wholesome thought after another, until we build up the habit that they become unremitting, so that we have unremitting mindfulness, unremitting investigation of what the mind is doing, unremitting energy to keep this going, unremitting joy, which is piti sukha, and then unremitting relaxation, which leads us to unremitting unification and collectedness of mind, and that leads into unremitting balance. Those are the 7 factors of enlightenment. The 7 factors all have the quality of unremitting, hit, 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 over and over and over again. And when I say hit, we're talking about like a second. And you can bring up joy in a second, but it'll rot away in the next second if you don't hit another joy juice button. So this is the way that we practice, is we start giving ourselves one wholesome thought after another, until we get it into a stream or into a flow. One drip of joy after another, and pretty soon that bucket's going to get full. But if you stop and tomorrow's sun comes up, guess what? All of that joy that you built up is going to evaporate. And then the bucket's going to get hot. And then you're back to your ordinary life again. So we can change that from ordinary into noble by this practice that has to keep going one after another. Dean, this is what you need to practice, is doing this over and over again. And it doesn't matter whether you go to the Wat, because a whole lot of people go to the Wat and they don't remember to practice over and over again. But Achan Po is 93 or 94 by now, and he was the abbot of Wat Suan Mok. Bhikkhu Buddhadasa chose him as the abbot of Wat Suan Mok, and guess what? 1969. That was a long time ago. It was more than 50 years ago, and he's 93 now. He's been in the robes, by the way, since he was 6 years old, but he counts it from the time of full ordination when he was 20. So he says he's been in the robes as a full bhikkhu for 73 years. And yet he keeps putting that drop in over and over again. That's how we sustain and keep our happiness going. Timo, do you have a question about that?
No, not really.
Can you do it? Can you do it again? Can you do it again? Can you keep doing it over and over again? Can you?
Yes,
Or do you get wrapped up in something?
I do, or I did get wrapped up in in wanting stuff and not wanting stuff, and so on. But I know I can do it. It's just happened that I didn't do it. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stop picking on people for the moment and start picking on Ivan. Ivan, you showed up at just the right time. It was perfect, your timing.
Yes. I mastered the timing.
Yes, you're a master at timing. Your timing is perfect. Does anybody have any comments about my saying that his timing was perfect?
Mm.
Or was it that I chose to change topics because he showed up finally? Finally.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a question for each one of you. I might go around and ask you this question so you think of something. Name me one thing that's perfect. One thing. What's perfect? Catherine, what's perfect? Can you think of something that's perfect?
I honestly can't.
No, I bet you can. How about you, Jose? Can you think of something perfect?
Sorry, wrong button. Not easy. Not easy.
Okay, Ivan, you're the perfectionist here. Have you ever done anything that was perfect?
Not something that's perfect. No. Wow. No. No.
You never did anything that was perfect? How about your best? Have you ever
Uh.
done your best? That's a
Yeah.
common language thing. Well, I did my
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
It's
I mean the
normally
best.
said right after we fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Mhm. Mhm.
I've never done my best at anything. I always keep a reserve.
Mhm. Mm.
I never blow it all doing my best. Why? Because then it would prove that I'm a failure.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm joking with that.
Mhm.
Here's the point, though, and that is that if you did have something perfect, wouldn't
Mm.
it be statically perfect? I mean, what happens if it changes?
Yes. Yes. Always changes.
If it changes, does it stay perfect?
Mm.
No, no.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
changes. If it was perfect, which means it's at its pinnacle, then any change would be downhill after that.
Yes. Yes.
hmm So,
Mhm.
if that's the case, then let's look at it from an ordinary position. I've just heard that China is participating in a spy war by having the most beautiful young Chinese women who learn the English language well, and then they're all sent to Silicon Valley, for instance, in order to find a boyfriend or a husband so that they can get the information like a CEO. In fact, one of the examples that was used was the CEO, I forget his name, of Oracle Corporation, has just married a young Chinese woman. And now the government is looking into him and her because they think that she's a spy. But here's the question then. If these women are absolutely drop dead gorgeous, you'd call them a 10. They're perfect, but they're a spy. But what about ordinary women who are absolutely drop dead gorgeous? They're beautiful. They're a 10. How long does that last? How
Not
does it
long.
last 10 years? How about 30 years?
Mhm.
Don't they all get old? Isn't the fact that perfection gets old? How about famous art like the Mona Lisa? They say that it's a beautiful painting. It's so beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's a 10, it's perfect. Well, if it was perfect, then how come that it has all of these cracks in the oil? How come they have to keep taking it off the wall and restoring it. If it were a perfect painting, it wouldn't deteriorate.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So here you are, Mr. Perfection. Anything you do is going to rot.
Yeah, you always rot. Yeah.
It always rots. Now, here's a story that I can tell you, and that is, and I knew this from way back when, and that was software engineers will keep their product going as long as they can, keep developing it, keep making it better and better and better, almost perfect. Guess what? Management and marketing is going into that code room and take that software away from that engineer so that they can make some money off of it. They're not going to wait until the software engineer gets it perfect.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
make any money off of perfect because it's always in the process of being perfected.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So, this is an ordinary concept. It's an ordinary language concept. It's not a Dhamma word. The same thing is true with the word ultimate, to where I've actually heard Ajahn Sumedho use the word ultimate in the sense of ultimate reality. And what he's really talking about is when we have consciousness that is unpolluted by perception, then we see reality as it actually is. But it's not ultimate reality. It's just ordinary reality that we can see without any, let us say, added mental states to it. But there's really no such thing as ultimate reality or ultimate or perfect anything. But that's, in fact, the establishment of Hindu, where they talk about the Atman, the soul, merges with a bigger soul. And that's the ultimate reality, the ultimate big soul, like the ultimate would be a God. But look at the Christian God. Is that Christian God perfect?
Oh
Ivan,
yeah.
you've had some Christianity. What is the
Yeah.
God perfect?
Yeah, they always use that sort of language. Yeah, like like Jesus is perfect, and um,
Yeah, first
yeah,
he sent a flood. First he made an Adam and Eve, and they wouldn't behave themselves. And then he sent a great big flood and wiped everybody out. The next thing you know, it's back to normal again. And so now he sends Jesus and hangs up
it,
his own son. That doesn't sound like an ultimately perfect God to me. It sounds like it's just a series of screw ups,
yeah,
monumental screw ups, but
yeah,
nothing
like
perfect there.
yeah, like there's a lot of mistake if you can see. That's true. That's true.
How about you, Karwan? Is Allah perfect? Is Allah even ultimate?
Mm.
No. Why? Because all the mullahs that I know try to hide the women under burqas. If God was ultimate, if Allah was ultimate, they'd all go around naked, wouldn't they? Because he don't care. Okay, so this whole idea then of perfection is a great big joke. It's ordinary language, but what we can do, rather than trying for perfection, is to just enjoy this next drop of joy juice. It doesn't have to become perfect. If, in fact, that bucket that we were talking about earlier was perfect, it would be able to contain all the joy or all the water you could put in it. But oh no, those buckets are not perfect. They've got a rim someplace. They're going to leak somewhere, off the top or out the bottom or someplace. There's no such thing as perfection. So we can say then that perfection, like beauty, is in the perception or the eye of the beholder. But the funny thing is, no one here dropped for that and says, "Oh, I know something perfect because I had a planned attack," but nobody fell into my trap. But if there was someone who had the idea that something was perfect, then I would say, "Well, can't you fix it? Can't you do something better to it? If it is perfect, then it's going to get static. And if it gets static, it goes old." So the Buddha talks about anicca, which means everything is changing. And then, in a kind of surprise, but this happens many times in the sutta where the Buddha says, "Is there anything that is static and unchanging?" And the Buddha and the audience always says no, that everything keeps changing. And then the Buddha asks the question, is that satisfactory or unsatisfactory? And everybody always says things that are anicca are in fact unsatisfactory. What does that mean? It means, Ivan, that you and all of the other people are dissatisfied by the fact that things keep changing, they keep getting messed up, they keep rotting, and you want them to stay static. You want them to stay static. And if you can't make it static and stay still, then let's get an authority figure that's going to demand that it stay static, like a daddy.
Yes.
So we want things to be static, and we are dissatisfied with the fact that things keep rotting, they keep changing. You said, by the way, Ivan, that you were an artist. What is your medium?
But 3D artist, let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Oh, you're not even an artist, huh? I thought everybody was an artist. Okay, but let us say the artist paints on canvas. What's going to happen to that canvas? What happened to the canvas that the Mona Lisa was painted on? Didn't it get old?
Yeah,
And
it does.
Yeah, and the paint started to crack and peel under the pressure of the changing foundation of the canvas. Which means then that you have a whole staff of people in the Louvre who are dedicated to try to make things not change. And then those people keep and then they go old, and then they quit their job and retire, and new whole staff comes in trying to make things not change. But if we were happy and comfortable with the Mona Lisa falling apart, then we could just be happy that it fell apart. But we don't like things to fall apart, especially the things that we are attached to as mine. This is where the point about anatta comes in, is that we attach to things, and when we attach to them, we want them to remain the way that it was, so that we can find pleasure by coming back and looking at it over and over again. Except that it come back again, and guess what? It changed. What was mine was changed. So I look at that stock market and I see that stock, let's say that I have Panatel, because I don't have any of that stock because that stuff is run by, what's his name? But anyway, I look at Panatel stock and it's up. It's really up. Therefore, I shouldn't look at it anymore because I got my hit of joy juice from it being up. Never mind the fact that it's going to go down, but I don't want to look at it because I don't want to feel bad because that's my stock. Or if you've got a political party, or if you are, let us say, a nationalist, you're a citizen of a country, then when something really happens great with that country, they win a war or they get a high economy or whatever like that, we don't want to look at it anymore because it's going to change. It's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. And when it goes up, I go up. And when it goes down, I go down. Because myself and my pleasure is based upon outside events, which are always anicca, always dissatisfactory. We don't want to see the change. But guess what? That's not the Dhamma language, that's ordinary language. The Dhamma language is that we can, in fact, come back and get pleasure again because we know how to manufacture the darn stuff with a wholesome thought, a wholesome attitude, a wholesome posture. We can recreate that, have a wholesome feeling until we find out that, feelings change. So why don't I just stop having feelings? If I didn't have any feelings, if I don't care about what stuff happens, then I can be all the time. And that's the joy, that's the source of real joy, is when you don't care about stuff enough because everything's going to change. So that's so much for perfection. Now, where did that idea of perfection actually come from? It comes from the fact that we were taught that as children. And the statement that we all said at that time, if you look back, you can remember that you sometime or another says, "Is this good enough, Daddy? Is it good enough, Mommy? Did I do a good job, Mommy?" Ivan, you're shaking your head. Yeah. How about you, Catherine? Have you ever when you were a little girl, did you ever ask your family or anybody, "Is this good enough? Did I do the potty thing good enough, Mommy?"
Maybe I don't remember that far back, but certainly a lot of that conditioning through my life has made me want to seek approval from my boss,
Mhm.
from my colleagues, all the time. Yeah.
Always seeking approval. Well, if you did something perfect, wouldn't you for sure got approval? I mean, if you could do something that nobody can find any fault with at all, then you're definitely going to get approval, right?
Yep. Always did try to do my best and make sure it was better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Guess what? You can still get criticized. That's not a guarantee. Ivan, your perfection is never going to guarantee that you're not going to get criticized.
Yes, I find a lot of what's that word? False comfort, in that false idea, like I'm never gonna, but that's against reality, like that's the lie I tell myself.
Well, I just threw out another trap. Did anybody catch the trap that I just threw out? You're still going to get criticized is not true. You only get criticized when you own that criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody criticizes it, it goes just like that. Oh, he missed me. Can't touch me.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That criticism can be terribly wrong.
Yes. In fact,
Yes.
yeah, that criticism can not only be wrong or inappropriate, but the criticism is a critical mind state that comes from someone else.
Yeah.
And
And
so
it's
what we
always,
try to go ahead.
no, it's also always in a context. So it's always a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So to accept someone saying, I never really, I'm not much of a perfectionist, I would say. I think and I don't want approval. I learned that from my parents because I could see they were doing something. There's something wrong here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's I never got into that, but I think I came into the opposite. I'm not going to do what you approve of.
You and
So
I
so
are the
it's,
rebels here. Yeah, we're the rebels. You
yeah,
give me an order. Please give me an order so I can not obey it.
exactly. Yeah. Because it wasn't. Why would I want to be perfect? Because that's just
Doesn't exist.
stupid.
It's just
Yeah,
stupid, isn't it? It's not
yeah,
just, it really is. And the rebel can see that perfection is ridiculous. It's stupid.
yeah, yeah.
But those who follow the order and want daddy's approval, they want things to be perfect so that they can get the approval. To where the rebel, we don't want approval unless we want to be the best rebel there is. And now we want approval from all of the other rebels. So long as we're attaching to these concepts.
Yeah.
But when the criticism flies and you're not there to catch it, then the flies don't stick to you. It's only because we make ourselves a target. Now, about that criticism, isn't it true that if we don't want to be criticized, then we'll try to make it perfect? And what does that bring on? We criticize it ourselves in advance. And also we criticize ourselves in advance. And we wind up being critical of ourselves even when nobody else is critical. But the criticism is still there. Unless we've learned, Ivan, to enjoy, to nurture yourself, to have fun at what you're doing, and we're not caring about what other people think, including the fact that we're not trying to make up what they're thinking before they say it. And what can we do instead? One drop of joy after another, after another, after another. One more drop of joy. Practice seeing that our criticism is unwholesome. Let's have some wholesome joy. Practice seeing that our perfectionism is trying to save ourselves from criticism when in fact we're already criticizing ourselves.
Yes.
So, Paul, what do you think?
Oh, nothing much to add as of now. Thank you.
Had enough of this, huh?
I've been enjoying the call and nodding along. Yeah.
All right. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, no, thanks for the teaching. Yeah, I think obviously perfection is not possible regardless. And I was just thinking, even if you were in some crazy world to achieve it, people would then start criticizing you for it. You know, the higher you rise, the further people want you to fall. So it really is a sort of no win game.
Really
So
is a
yeah, that
no-win
was just
game. In
yeah.
fact, if you do something perfect, guess what's going to happen? People are going to hate you for it because they don't see themselves as perfect. So what are they going to do? They're going to find something wrong with what you did, and they're going to start criticizing your absolute perfection. They're going to
Yeah,
destroy it.
exactly.
So better to leave a fault. So then when they mention that fault, you say, yeah, I know, I put it in there on purpose so that you'd find that and criticize it.
And also, I mean, one of the things I teach, I'm in education, I teach storytelling. And one of the ways in which you can really tell a story that other people connect to is if you show some vulnerability in that story. So showing the imperfection is actually a better way of connecting with others in any case. And yeah, obviously we somehow fool ourselves into thinking that we need to be perfect instead.
I've seen that happen in this call. But you're right. Every story is imperfect. And teaching storytelling means that you need to make your stories imperfect because that makes them real. So, Amal, what do you think?
Yeah, so just the topic of perfection made me think of something. It's that we keep waiting for the conditions to be perfect and that then we'll practice or then we'll be joyful. The conditions are never perfect. So joy doesn't come from the conditions. It is something that we have to build. It is something that we have to build a skill for. So the right time to practice is now when things are not perfect.
Right now is the only time that is perfect. Because why? Because it's so temporary you can't grab hold of it and make it imperfect. It's the new now. It's constantly changing. Brett, you just showed up. Hi, friend.
Hello.
Early for you, huh?
Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm just getting synced up with everything.
All right. Well, we're coming to a close of the hour. So, Shepherd, I'm glad that you finally joined because I have a message for you. And first off, I want to congratulate you for saying that when your cell phone rings, you get ticked off. You say, I don't want to practice right now. That's because you see 5 minutes as a long time. So, what I would recommend for you is to have just one wholesome thought. Just one. So instead of when the cell phone rings and you say, oh, I don't want to practice right now, I'm busy, you can say at least one thing, oh, I'm glad that phone went off because that gives me an opportunity to feel good right now. And then go back and feel bad again. If you can.
Hello, Mr. Dhammarato. I I want to ask you a question, but then I already know the answer. It's kind of funny.
All right. Well, if you already know the answer, then you'll forget that and then you'll have it again, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I
And you
think
remember that you remember the answers.
yeah. What I did is rather than to use alarm. I mean, the alarm is only for it's like two part. You talk about setting up alarm, and you're talking about practice for 10 minutes. The
No, I
second
didn't
part
say
is
10. So
yeah,
you're getting grandiose on me. I said 5.
yeah. Yeah, but like it's like setting expectation, and my mind we just running wild because it cannot handle expectation, too much pressure. So what I did is just tell myself to like use the stopwatch. It's like yeah, and see how far I can go. And yeah, I go like 15 minutes, half an hour because I don't have expectation. You like
Okay.
practice. Yeah.
All right. So when the alarm goes off, then you have the expectation, wow, I'm glad that alarm went off so that you can keep doing it. This is not a matter of doing it 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even an hour for a day. Then, in fact, I've heard many people say, oh, well, I meditate an hour a day, but they don't. But they're sitting there on the floor pretending that they're paying attention when in fact they're not. They want to go deep into meditation. And so they're trying to do something rather than just enjoying the moment, moment by moment. But even if they were, that's still 23 hours a day of hindrances. What we need to do is to get it going drop after drop after drop after drop until we can get it unremitting. To keep going, keep plugging it in, keep doing it. And so every hour or so, start it up again. Do just one. Maybe for a week, you can have just one wholesome thought once an hour. But then next week, we can say, okay, I can go for two now. Wow, I'm a big, tough dude. I can do two wholesome thoughts in a row. You hear where I'm coming from, Shepherd?
Yeah.
So when those thoughts of, oh, I don't want to do it right now, we can say, aha, I saw that. Then in fact, that's a wholesome thought. Aha, I saw that. That's already a wholesome thought. Wow, I'm glad I saw that. That's another wholesome thought. But when that alarm rings and you say, oh, I don't want to practice right now, what kind of thought is that one?
A hindering thought.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hindrance,
unwholesome.
isn't it? So, Giannis, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I enjoyed the call. Could you say that perfection lies in the difference of what we imagine and what really is?
Well, you could say that, but then you could go all the way and say that perfection does not exist except in the mind of the believer. And it's a painful thought when there is there. Why? Because if you think perfection exists, then you strive for it, always failing. But if you accept that there is no such thing as perfection, then you can be happy and joyful with just the way things are without having them be criticized.
Yeah, it's like when I imagine something to be a certain way and then it's very different, then yeah, like that's when I feel bad because it's very far from what I imagine. But when it's very close from what I imagine, I think that's what we call perfect. But then the mind changes, and so yeah, like that idea changes. So yeah, that's why perfection doesn't exist.
Right. Not only does perfection not exist, but the thought of perfection is dukkha. Just like the fact that things change is dukkha. We don't want things to change. We want them to remain the same we are, and we don't ever get what we want. So when we stop wanting, then we can be satisfied with the way things are. This is the major teaching of the Buddha. The satisfaction. He teaches dukkha, dukkha nirodha. He teaches to see the dukkha and bring it to an end. And the end of dissatisfaction is being satisfied with the way things are. And satisfaction comes from not wanting anything and being comfortable and happy and satisfied with just the way things are for the moment. But there's going to be another moment. What are you going to do then? How about another drop of joy? And then it's going to change again. And now you've got a new moment. What are you going to do? Let's have another drop of joy juice so that we become unremitting over and over and over and over again. Every moment that comes by is a new opportunity to feel good. And we almost always take the opportunity to feel bad instead because that's our old habit.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Dhammarato, uh,
huh?
even if you know that maybe like in the next hour you're not sure what's gonna happen, you might die. But like it's only
Yeah,
at
but
this
you can die
moment, right?
happily. Wow, what a relief. I'm dead already. Ha ha. Can you die happily? Yeah. Because if you can die happily, then death doesn't have its sting. It doesn't mean anything. We are programmed through the DNA to fear death. And guess what? The fear of death is the fear of any and everything that can go wrong, because any and everything that can go wrong will take us closer to death. But when we don't fear death, now we can really have fun. We can really enjoy our lives because there's nothing to fear. But guess what? The Buddha actually points out that anytime a hindrance is in the mind, that's a source of fear. Doubt is a source of fear. Agitation, worry, that's a source of fear. Wanting something that you don't have, that's a source of fear. Putting up with things that you don't want to put up with, that's a source of fear. Everything is a source of fear. Let's put those hindrances away and come into wholesome thoughts. So a flip, what do you think? AAFLP. He's not here. Robert, what do you think?
Hello, I missed most of the talk, but I just came in, so everything that I heard sounds good.
Okay, may you come on time so that you won't miss anything. Because it does kind of have a sequence. We kind of build stuff up.
Yeah, but I'll go back and rewatch it.
Oh, good idea.
Cool.
So, Destined, what do you think?
I don't worry about it.
So, AFLP, I saw you turn your microphone on and off. Are you still there now? All right. I think that's everybody. Does anybody have any final comments? How about you, Brett? What do you have to say for yourself, young man?
Oh, did not have the alarm, but had the fortune to wake up to practice Dhamma. So I'm very happy about that and happy to see all of you. And will make it so that I shall be on time next time for the UK Sangha. Thank you,
No
Dhammarato.
problem. I'm glad to see you because I know that
Glad
it's
to see
very
you
early
too.
for you.
That's fine.
Christina, what do you have to say? Early for you too.
Good morning. So, as a
That's an opinion.
recovering
I
as
was
a
just saying hi to
recovering
the.
perfectionist, I would say I enjoyed this talk very much. And the idea of practice making better instead of perfect came up for me. Because there's that thought of like practice makes perfect, and we
No,
just
it
get that
doesn't.
drilled into our heads.
It
I
makes
know.
you
Well,
miserable.
I know now. But yeah, no, thank you very much. Nice to see everybody.
Okay. So, who have I not picked on yet? I think I've got them all. So, Mikey, why don't you take this thing, wrap it up, and tie it with a bow?
Yeah. Perfect timing. The computer just crashed before being called up. Yeah, thank you. So glad to see so many friends here today. Y'all are welcome to stay on, hang out, make noble friends here in the Dhamma Friends Hangout channel. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, come join us. Fun time. You're also welcome to check out OpenSanghaFoundation.org for all sorts of resources like our Sangha map and various Dhamma books and audio calls and things like that. And write blogs and all sorts of fun things to play with. Yeah, don't take it easy. Chill. Remember, everything's okay.
So, one thing, And that is, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please put a comment. Please comment this time. We don't often talk about it, but I would like it, especially if anybody who is watching this video knows of something that is perfect. Please comment. I've been looking for a perfect thing for my whole life, and I've always found nothing, which is a separate topic, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Dhammarato.
So I'm going to float away, and I'm going to have to untie the chair in order to do that. But I'm going to float away and let everybody stay here so you can comment on what we've talked about and make friends with each other. Dean's planning on coming to Thailand to ordain, and you can rib him about that. And so pay attention to Agnes. Agnes has been an old friend of mine for 25 years or so. And so we can know that she's got some Dhammas. Same thing is true with Ivan and Brett, and some of the old students are here. Karwan is getting old, or let us say seasoned. And Mikey's a good one to ask questions to and whatnot like that. So stay online, have fun, and I'll see you later.
Thank you,
Thank
Dhammarato.
you.
Thank you, Dhammarato.
Thank you.
Dhammarato.
Thank you.